Coach Kellie Harper. She'll begin with an opening statement, and then we'll go to questions. Coach?
I think in the SEC this year, you're going to have to scrap and claw and fight for everything you get. There's just a lot of really good basketball teams, and they're playing hard. It's going to be a really challenging, interesting year. So I'm proud of our team. Obviously didn't have a stellar first half, but proud of their toughness and their grit and poise to make a comeback and get a really good win.
All right, we'll go to questions now. We'll start with Maria, then Cora, and Ryan.
Coach, you managed to cut it to 10 by halftime, and that second quarter rally was pretty much led by Jill Spear and Jillian Hollingshed. What were the two of them doing to sort of get you back on track?
Yeah, I thought getting the lead down before the half was very critical, and I thought Jewel was being very aggressive. I thought that's she played with a little bit renewed confidence and aggressiveness, and so that's what we needed. She and I talked about that, and I think that was what we needed at the time. I think at the end, I have to go back and watch. I think at the end of the second, also we got shots up. We didn't turn the ball over there late, and gave us an opportunity to kind of chip away at that lead.
Cora?
Rakia Jackson, 11-18. That's kind of the efficiency we were used to seeing from her last year. And it looked like she was getting a lot more open looks in the second half or getting under the basket. Just what do you attribute to that kind of return to that high efficiency? Yeah,
we moved her around a little bit more in the second half. Our lineups changed. We played a little bit more guard heavy in the second half, which pushed her a little bit more to the forward spot. Every game's going to be different, and I think we're going to try to take advantage of her in any and every way. But the spacing was pretty good at times. She had some one-on-one opportunities, and we always like those. But also, I thought we had enough people that were doing other things. Tess got a shot. Jillian was posting up. We had Jasmine Powell making some aggressive moves there in the second half. Again, I'll go back to another very similar thing that happened at Auburn. We got stops in that third quarter, and the stops led to our open court transition where we're a little bit better.
Go next to Ryan.
What do you think Kaya gave you on the defensive end of the second half when you guys were shut down?
Yeah, I think Kaya gave us some good minutes. They weren't extended minutes like she had to play in the last game, but I thought she gave us really good minutes. And in those moments, she comes in and she's a really good defender. It allows us to slide Jasmine Powell to someone off the ball, maybe give her a little breather. But having Kaya and the ability for Kaya to guard different people with great length and athleticism and strength really helps us.
Go next to Paige and then Casey.
It's one thing to know the adjustments you need to make. It's another to actually execute on those adjustments to erase a 17-point deficit and win by 18. What does that say about this team?
Well, I think it shows their belief. I have to give our crowd a little bit of that comeback because they were loud and their energy was infectious, and I thought that our players really played off of that energy today. But there wasn't a panic. I think there was a renewed focus coming out of halftime, but there wasn't panic. And then you start chipping away. You just have to make a few more plays on each end of the court. I think they started feeling good about what we were doing defensively, and that just really carried over.
Go with Casey, Caleb, and then Cora.
Each game, it seems like less and less holds Tamari back. How have you kind of seen her play more free in these last few contests?
Yeah, we didn't get her in probably enough in that first half, but she played really well in the second. I think we continue to work with her. More minutes under her belt. She looks better and better. So there's no doubt that she was a huge factor in that second half, in particular the third quarter, and really changing the attack that Kentucky had.
What was the biggest halftime adjustment you saw that kind of led to that dominant third quarter?
Yeah, I think we talked about defensively being more aggressive, getting after the ball a little bit more. I thought we were a little bit on our heels in the first half, so we made things a little bit more difficult. They didn't get as many open looks in the second half, so I think a lot of that, there wasn't as much schematically as it was just a little bit more mentality, a little bit more effort. I thought one of the big plays that we had was Rakia diving on the floor in that second half, getting the loose ball. I thought we were much more aware of the ball, loose balls, trying to find ways to make plays in the second half. We did a few things differently on the offensive end to try to help us, but I think the majority of that second half was on the defensive side.
Cora, and then Ryan.
Today felt like Jewel's best game since the beginning of the season. Just with the ball in her hand, she can be so dangerous. It felt like she's very poised and creating for herself inside the arc. Just how would you describe her development there and how much that she can be with the ball in her hands?
Yeah, she's a student, and every game we're always wanting to help her find ways to be better, and she loves feedback. And so I think the feedback from Auburn game, she really took to heart and was super excited about it. Hers isn't necessarily criticism. It's just talking about where she could do more. And I thought she stepped out there aggressive today and played with really good confidence. And we need that. We need her to be able to score, to be able to make plays defensively. I think she had 2 steals. She had 7 boards. And we're coming off a game where she didn't have a board. So really, it wasn't just her scoring. To me, it was her energy and aggressiveness.
Tamari said she's hard on herself and kind of isn't satisfied. What do you as a coach think that her next step is in her progression?
Well, I just think it's time. I don't know that it's one thing. Right now I think her hands, sometimes we don't go grab the ball with 2 on maybe some boards, awareness, but those are things that will continue to be better with time. The more we do this, the more she plays, the better she's going to be. And I thought she, again, I'm just really proud of her. What an unbelievable journey that she has been on, and how I'm so proud that she's being able to affect the game, even not at the best Tamari Key that we've ever had. She's still able to affect the game right now, and hopefully she'll continue to move forward and understand that she's making a difference.
Alec, and then Maria.
Coach, we saw Sarah Puckett struggle a little today with 2 back-to-back fouls in the second half, and she was naturally a little frustrated with that. What was it you said to her on the sideline with about a minute left in the game? Yeah,
I think what our players have to understand is every game is different. Every matchup is different. The flow of the game is always going to be different. And if you step back and look, Jewel didn't get as many minutes in the second half at Auburn. She didn't do wrong, but the flow of the game lended to someone else being on the court. And it was the same thing with Sarah. There was nothing wrong. She's a good player. She was on the court a lot at the end of the game at Auburn, and then it was just a different person tonight. And I think when our players understand that, and I think they do, I think they understand, someone is going to be out there because of a matchup, because of the flow of the game. And I think they understand right now they just want to win. And don't get me wrong, they all want to play well, and I'm completely fine with that. I want them to want to play well, but they've all been great teammates, and they've been pulling for each other in those moments. So Sarah's fine. We have a lot of confidence in Sarah.
Maria, Casey, then Caleb.
Coach, this is one time I'm actually really curious what you said at halftime and how you keep coming up with these speeches. And maybe you could convince the team it's the third quarter and the first quarter. They just literally flipped that script to start that quarter.
Yeah. Man, it's probably documented somewhere. There was a camera in the locker room again. It was, we just talked about it being unacceptable, and we were on our heels, and we just weren't playing as hard as we needed to play. We weren't getting the rebounds. Basically, I was just giving them facts. Just talking to them about, and they knew, they understood. Kentucky averages 60, 61 points a game, and we gave up 31 in the second quarter. That's facts. It's unacceptable. And, don't get me wrong. Let's give Kentucky credit. They knocked down shots. They did what they needed to do. They had a lot of energy. They played so hard. But our team just didn't affect them any. And we talked about that. Yes, I get a little animated and, yell sometimes. But they knew. They knew coming into the locker room and walking out of the locker room what they needed to do.
Casey.
What is it about this team that allows them to fight so hard when they're coming from behind and allows them to find success in fighting from that deficit?
Well, I don't think they give up. They still have really good belief. We just had to get our motors going a little bit higher. I think sometimes when you're down like that, frustration could take over, but it didn't with our players. I think they still had a pretty high level of confidence that they could make plays. So I'm really proud of that. If you have that, you're never out of it. Now, granted, we don't want to be down 17. We don't want to be in that position, but that's real. That's basketball. There are swings, there are momentum changes, and you got to find a way to stop it, get it back, and at the end of the day, find a way to pull out a win.
Caleb, Paige, and then Cora. How
much better does it make the team having Tamari play how she is right now?
Oh, Tamari can completely change your defense. It changes the opponent's offensive attack. So things that you can do every other game, you might scratch that for our game, right? We've seen that multiple times throughout her career. And, we've seen that switch during games, and there's a comfort there when you can get up and guard and know she's standing behind you. I would love it as a defensive player, knowing she's behind me. And I'll tell you this, even in the huddles, Caroline Stripling, again, who's playing fine. Tamari is on the court, and Caroline is encouraging every perimeter player to get up and guard because Tamari's behind them. She was verbalizing that. And what a great teammate that she was in that moment, but that's the awareness that our players have.
Rickea Jackson and Jules Spear combined for, I believe, 48 points tonight. How important is their production and success in the SEC? Oh,
I think that's huge for our team. I think they need to be productive for us. Obviously Rickea is your go-to player, and she's been able to deliver and she's been able to be consistent, but we have to have some other people step up, and obviously Jewel has the ability to do that. We have several. Sarah can, Caroline can, Tess can, Jasmine Powell can, Jillian can. We have a lot of people that can step up and make those plays, but somebody needs to. You cannot be on Rickea every single night. But I think the beauty of our team is I do think it can be different people each night. And, we just want to continue to find ways to spread the ball around and take good shots. I was proud, 53% from the floor is a pretty good output.
Cora and then Casey.
Turnovers were a bit of a problem in the first half. Jasmine Powell had 3 turnovers during 3 assists, but bounced back second half to end with 9 assists. Just what was your message to her at halftime, and how important was it to see that that didn't affect her and she still ended with that many assists? Yeah, I thought she flipped her game around. I thought she played much better in the second half. Part of that was her turnovers. I think she was a little bit passive. Rickea had too many turnovers there in that first half in particular. So that's something that we've got to be mindful of. Jasmine, she's got the bulk of the ball handling duties, and we're going to have some other people step up and be able to take some of that pressure off of her at times.
Casey.
the beginning of the game, the tempo seemed to really pick up. I know that was a focus that you had mentioned previously, wanting to play faster. Just how did today kind of live up to where you want to be in terms of how quick you guys are on the court?
Yeah, we had a lot of possessions. 60 plus your free throws. We take off a few of those. If we could take off a few of those turnovers, we're getting up and down at a pretty hot pace. I thought both teams were gassed at one stretch in the second half. I think it was the fourth quarter, may have been the end of the third, but actually may have been the end of the third. There was a lot of up and down, and that's where I was proud of our team for being able to play through those moments. But the hot pace is, I think, in our favor most games.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you Thursday.